Co-hosts Mike Tooman and Paul Burvitt every Saturday, noon until 2 on WRMN 1410 AM, the Fox River Valley Media Network, streaming on WRMN1410.com. Our studio call-in number is 847-931-1410. And for those of you who don't want your voice on the air because you're being because you're being stalked by someone or some government or some terrorists, our text line is 505-926-1410, or hit us up in the comments on the YouTube live channel at WRMN1410.com, or YouTube, WRMN 1410 YouTube channel too. Hey, Paul, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I see that the government contractors started losing enough money that they forced the shutdown to end.
It's all over. It was like a month of Sundays. It's all over.
Yeah, it's all done. Now they got to go back to work, and nothing's changed, and nothing's going to change, and it's just wild. But
well, they got to go back to work just before the primary election for the congressman. Yeah.
I don't they just start primarying in April, or?
No. Our primary is going to be like in February or March. So it's real quick. It's right after, the signatures here come in around Labor Day, and then the big fundraising starts, and then the election is in full swing by December, January. So we got our primary coming up in the spring real soon. And, kind of funny how it all collapses and everybody's back, so they don't want to miss that flow of the old pinstripe patronage or the election funding.
Yeah, and our boy Dick Durbin there decides that he's going to be one of the 8 people to take the party hit.
Well, he's leaving. He's moving on. We got we got the lieutenant governor woman. She's in the fight, and we got some other people in the fight. So we'll see. The interesting thing, I keep talking about this is, I told you I sent that letter to Broadview a ways back during the stuff. Several of the people running for that congressional seat up there, in fact, one of them just got indicted, were on the front lines of the, disturbance. And they use civil disobedience and rioting as a campaign tool now. It's something we should be watching out for, Yeah,
well, you know what, they get their base all shook up, say, hey, why don't you come out here and have fun? And if you can't come out here and have fun, why don't you just go and vote, because you're the base, and then we can have more fun. And then the other thing is they want to intimidate the other side, or whatever other side, the people that they're against. They want to intimidate them not to come out and vote, saying, hey, we're out here, we don't care, we're going to riot no matter what, you might get hurt, so just stay inside, you'll be safe inside. It's all a big game. And they could talk from either side on this, how it's a bad thing when someone else is doing it, but it's a good thing when they're doing it. Either way, it's like wild. It's like artificial intelligence. I was just on artificial intelligence, and I asked it 2 things, what are the benefits of illegal aliens getting driver's licenses? And it said lower insurance rates, because you'll have more educated drivers that are buying insurance. And if we have a bigger group of customers, then you could lower the price. And then I go to artificial intelligence and I go, what is bad about illegal aliens having driver's licenses? And it said increased insurance rates. I'm like, it's like, okay, this is the same artificial intelligence, right? It's telling you one thing. Oh, they're estimating, what do you want to hear? Artificial intelligence is telling you what you kind of want to hear. And then when I put it in a bad tone, it tells me the reverse. So when you get out like that, and you could tell both sides of the story, and hopefully you'll get your way from everyone as much as possible. But the thing is that artificial intelligence really doesn't control that, and you can't argue with it. You can argue with the people that are programming it and entering the data, but you can't argue with it. It's not going to change its mind unless you're the programmer. And one of the big things was that I would like to see, and I think we wanted to talk about this today, was how do you prove just because you give someone a driver's license that they're going to go out and buy insurance? Is there a way to prove that?
Well, there used to be a requirement that you had to show proof of insurance before you could get your plates, but they abolished that because so many people didn't have it, and it was interfering with the voters that they had to repeal that. So that would be a good way.
On a base level, if you get your car towed by the city into one of the city lots, they will not let you drive it off of their lot unless you have a driver's license, proof of insurance, a city sticker, and the plate sticker. You could tow it out of there with a tow truck, but you cannot drive it off. So that's probably the only way they can enforce this, right? And I'm sure I haven't had my car towed in quite a while, but I don't know if that's changed. If anyone knows if that's changed, at least in Chicago, give a call in here at 847-931-1410 and let me know if that policy has changed, because if you're just letting an uninsured driver, leave the lot, then shouldn't you have some liability?
You want to hear a real good towing story that I have?
Yes, I do.
It's a really good one. So I was called by the Inspector General of the Department of Children and Family Services to go to one of their facilities about some fraud. And, their facility is kind of up the block from the Juvenile Justice Center on Hamilton,
They have a couple of them, yeah.
Yeah. So
how did you get in?
Huh?
How did you get in? As I remember, they had ballistic glass and they had armored doors, and you had to be buzzed in. They wouldn't even let the police in there.
Well, no, this was good. So they had a parking lot, and it was kind of in the city, but it had kind of like real fine gravel. That's part of the story. So I parked my car, and I had a sticker from the police department and also from the state's attorney's office that said official car felony review. So I put the sticker in my window, right? And I go in and I have my meeting. And I said to the woman, I said, I'm in the lot here. They're not going to tow my car, are they? And she says, oh, no, they won't tow your car. So anyway, so I was in the meeting, I'd say maybe an hour and a half, and I come out and my car's gone. And at first it was a shock. I go, oh my God, my car is stolen. And then I look down and I see like skid marks. Okay. So I realized they had towed my car, So anyway, I go back in and I go, who tows from your lot? And they go, a Lincoln Towing. Okay. And I said, oh, wow. I go, can I call Lincoln Towing? And I ask them if they have my car. And they're like playing games with me. And I go, I'm kind of worried because of the way I had my car. I said, you guys didn't damage it or anything. They said, no, it's up at our lot. And they have a lot up north by Area 5 somewhere.
Yes,
you know where that's at?
I do.
Yeah. So anyway, so I go back in and I go, can you have one of your investigators drive me to their lot? And they were very nice. They did. Of course, like he booked. That guy drove me up there and booked. So I go in and like you're saying, it had bulletproof glass and everything. So I go in there and I said, I believe you have my car. And they go, what kind of car is it? And I told them, and they go, yeah. yeah, we have your car, and it's like $300, right? And I said, no, I don't think so. And they said, well, it's $300. And I said, I don't really think so. And they go, oh yeah, it is. I go, give me my car. And they go, no. I said, well, then we got a problem. I go, you're all under arrest. And they go, what are you talking about?
Possession of a stolen motor vehicle.
Well, no, I said, I'm in an official capacity, and you just stole my car. I said, you're all under arrest. And they go, no, we're not. So then I got on the phone, and I called a felony review. My friend was there, and I go, hey, Darren, I'm on official business. Call the boss. And I go, Lincoln Towing's got my car. And I go, they don't want to give it back. I said, I'm going to call the police. I said, I want them all arrested. He said, if they don't give you your car back, they're all arrested. Okay. So I called the police, and 5 cars came out and a sergeant. And I said, you're going to see, it says official business. I was there. I go, call felony review. They call felony review. They go in there, and the guy didn't want to give him the car. And they go, I don't think you understand. I go, he's going to arrest all of you. And then next thing you know, I got my car. And it didn't cost me anything. And I guess they knew how to tow it. But yeah, so, sometimes, the Pirates with the Lincoln Towing lost, and sometimes they won. But
So-
yeah, it was interesting.
So kind of the same story. A guy had bought a warehouse in the back of the yards. I mean, he literally just bought this place, but he closed on it. It was his place. He owned it now. It had transferred ownership. And the old owner had, the old Action Iron. Was it Action? No, I forget. The one over on the one over by Pershing. All right, the towing company over there. Back of the yards. And anyways, he bought this building. And the towing company had a contract with the previous owner, and they put the signs up, right? And so these drivers, they're one step away from crackheads, and they're looking for their tow because they're not making hourly, they're making by the head. The more cars they tow, the more money they make, right? And once they hook it, they drive it in there, right? So this guy's got the guy had money, and this was a very nice Lincoln, a brand new Lincoln that they had towed away, and he was kind of upset. So we go over there, right? And now they're supposed to call in to the department when they tow a car, right? They're supposed to call in, and they're supposed to do it kind of beforehand, right? So that when the person comes out and finds their car missing and they call the police could run the number right away and say, oh, no, it wasn't stolen. It was towed. And then then there's not the mistake of an RD number and the stuff getting entered into leads twice under 2 different things. It's all confusing. But they hadn't done that because it's just short time. I go over there and we go to the tow lot, and I think the patrolman had called me because auto theft, and they didn't know how this was going to work and everything. So I go there, and the guy could see his car. He says, "That your car?" I go, "Yeah." I tell the guy working the gate, I says, "Hey, open the gate. We're taking that car." And now I'm the police, and I got the uniformed police with me. He goes, "No." I'm like, "I'm sorry. You're a licensed premise in the city of Chicago. I am a sworn officer of the city of Chicago. I'm inspecting your licensed premise." Right? He says, no. And I says, okay. I put him in handcuffs. I says, you're under arrest for possession of a stolen motor vehicle because you said you're in charge here. That's on your lot now that you're in charge of. That's a stolen car. I says, he doesn't have it. You have it. You have no authority to have it. Right? I says, I'm not going to argue with you. He says, let me call my boss. Let me call my boss. I says, okay. Right? Go into his office, dial the phone. Here, because he's still in handcuffs. I says, give me a phone. I says, on top of that, I am going to count every car in this lot. I'm going to run every single VIN. And for every car I find that's stolen, I'm going to charge you as the owner. I will get a warrant and come out and get you. Well, I'll give him the car back. I'm like, ho, that's all it took, huh? But here's these guys. They're like, But they got, you know what the hubris is? Why they have that hubris, Paul? Why they think they're such BAs? Because they got politicians in their pockets.
Right.
And if they have time to make a phone call, right, they'll make a phone call and then suddenly you'll be getting a phone call saying, what are you doing? Leave him alone. I'm like, stop. What about this guy here? You know, so it goes into that, you know, and it comes back to politicians do whatever the hell they want, whether it's legal or not. You know, and here, Governor Pritzker, is he not a lawyer?
That was clearly evident when he was trying to buy the Obama seat, when Blagojevich did not know he was a lawyer, and then he goes, "Are you a lawyer?" And he goes, "Yeah, I could make you the attorney general because I might make Lisa Madigan the senator." But yeah, he's a lawyer. He is.
Yes. So he should know the law. He should have a basic understanding of civics. He should have a basic understanding of the U.S. Constitution, on which all the state constitutions are based. Correct?
Correct.
All right. So when you have the Department of Transportation, right, that says that you have to be a legal resident, legal resident, or legally here with a visa, right? Legal resident, you got to prove residency to have a driver's license issued by a state, right? You can't have two state drivers. You can't have Illinois and you can't have Minnesota. That's a federal felony. Right? You only have one state. So basically, when the state issues it, the Department of Transportation has overwatch, right? So if you issue out a license to a legal alien, you are going in direct violation of the federal government. And you should know that. But they're doing it here. Now, okay, everyone out there, put on your tinfoil hats. Here it comes, right? Well, follow the money. All right? Follow the money to who? Well, to the insurance companies. Well, wait a second. Don't the insurance companies lose money when they have to pay out if an illegal alien gets in an accident and has it, they have to pay out on that? And won't they have to pay out if there's a hit and run and then you have the uninsured motorist? I go, have to pay out. Hire a lawyer, sue them, and then prove that they weren't working in good faith and then get extra money. But they play the odds on that, and they have the pencil, they have the bean counters, they have the actuaries. All right, so even though they know that 20% of the population and probably 80% of illegal aliens, I don't know why an illegal alien would get insurance, right? They'll just boost the rates of the guys that are your 90% of the population that wants to remain legit, or 80%, let's say 80%, because they say 20% of the drivers out there aren't insured, right? So they boosted on that 80%. So they say, their actuaries say, oh, because there's more drivers on the road, there's more accidents, therefore we have to boost the rates because we're paying out more. So it's not a victimless crime. You are paying for that. Not a lot, but just enough. But if everyone, 80% pays enough, then they're making money. I guarantee you they're not losing money on this. And when they looked at, if we gave licenses to all these illegal aliens and they're all out there legitimately on the road, and not legitimate, but they're out there on the road and we could count them. Now we have a population count. And we could say, well, this many drivers are on the road, so now we could raise the rates based on that. And they make more money. So it behooved them to make that happen. Right? They want more and more out there so they could charge you more and more. They are doing nothing to get your rates down. They're trying to make it where you're not going to make a claim, right? But that's even better for them. If everyone had insurance and no one ever made a claim, that's so much better for them, right? So there is, I believe, and if you want to look at the AI for it, the good reasons for having, illegal aliens having driver's licenses. One of them was, so they could get their kids to the hospital. Okay. So you say that they're going to have a car. This is wild, right? They say that they're going to have a car, right? And because they have a car and a driver's license, they're going to get insurance. And then because they have the car, they could drive their kid to the hospital, which means that they're going to have medical insurance too, that they pay for. Right, Paul?
Of course.
I'm just following the logic here, but it makes no sense.
I follow that 100%. Not really.
Not really. Yeah. And again, it's happy feelings, but practically and in reality, this doesn't happen. This is not a legitimate reason. It's the 1 in a billion thing. It's the 1 in a billion. But what about this 1 in a billion person? What about him? Who cares about him? He don't care about me. He's making sure my insurance rates are boosted. He's making sure I got a longer wait in the emergency room. He's making sure of all these things on me. If you look, there's some sort of self-centeredness here, right? You have to have a little bit of self-centeredness, a little bit, right? And you have to look in, how does it, well, it doesn't affect me that much, but it does affect me. And what did I ever do to this guy? Did I go down to Venezuela and vote socialist? No. Did I train up with Che Guevara down in Cuba? No. All right. So all these things, I'm looking at how it affects me. It cost me, if it cost me a penny more, I never stole a penny from this guy in my life. But all of a sudden, he stole a penny from a billion people, and a million pennies are what? $10,000? Yeah, $10,000. In effect, he has a $10,000 accident, right? And the insurance company charges a million people a penny more. He's just stolen from a million people because the insurance company is going to go to their CEO and say, hey, dude, another one of those illegal aliens that you supposedly insured got in an accident, out of pocket. Come on, dude, out of pocket. He's going to, no. Pass it on to the little people. So when we get back for the second quarter of the Chief Guard of the Republic's show, we're going to talk more about how this directly affects national defense. Noon to 2. Call in at 847-931-1410. Text us at 505-926-1410. Or hit us up on the YouTube Live on WRMN 1410's channel. And Paul, so I want to give a call out to any veteran that joined up as a truck driver. Any veteran that went into the military as a truck driver that, was 16 to 18 years old. They joined. They had a social security number. They had registered for the draft, even though they joined. They went through 8 weeks of basic training, and then they went through another 8 weeks of driver's school, learned everything about the big rigs, and especially if you drove a clutch as opposed to the automatics. I understand everything's automatic now, all right? And that you went through all this training, safety training, and extra special if you had hazmat. A lot of guys had hazmat because they had to transport ammunition. Anyone transporting ammunition had to have a hazmat thing on their driver's license. Certificate. Just the annotation, right? So all that you went through, then you come out, right, and you maybe get a civilian job, but you've been driving for 3 years in the military, the big rigs and everything. And they make you jump through hoops. You got to go see a doctor, and the doctor's got to give you, the roto-rooting and everything else, and say, hey, you're still fine to be on this, driving on the streets. And then you take another written test, and you get out there, you get your CDL, and now you work for a company, and you're lucky enough to join the Teamsters. So you get a union thing on the Teamsters, right? And you've been through all that, and maybe it took you 5 or 6 years. And some nobody came in, God knows, because he's not documented, hasn't given a real name, no one's fingerprinted him, no one's swabbed him for DNA. He hasn't taken a photo, right? Except for his driver's license photo. He goes into California and he wants a CDL, and they give him one, and the name on the CDL is no name given. And they do this accidentally 17,000 times. 17,000. Paul, is that an accident? You do the same thing 17,000 times?
No, not at all.
It's trained, encouraged, or directed behavior. Directed. I would say it's directed. I'd say they're told to do that. And then here's the funniest thing out of all this. Oh, California revokes them. Sorry, dude, they're already on the road. They already got a rig. They're already driving until the police stop them and run their license and say, hey, this is revoked, Mr. No Name Given. And lock them up for driving on a revoked license. And then, what's their defense? I didn't know. Is that a legit defense at this point when California just says, oh, well, I think it is. Because you went in there, you got the license. If they didn't call you personally, and how could they call you? They don't have your phone number. And they sent you a notice, but you haven't lived there ever, right? For residency, and you didn't get it, and they can't prove you didn't get it because they didn't send it certified returned receipt. So they can't prove service or attempted service, right? It's a big joke. It's like one time I was testifying, and the state's attorney told me, listen, I'm going to ask you this, and the defense attorney is going to object. But before he objects, I want you to get that answer out because the jury will hear it. I don't know how ethical that was, that he knew that something wasn't going to be accepted and probably be objected to and probably sustained by the judge, the objection be sustained by the judge, but he still wanted me to answer it. And I answered it, and the funny thing was no one objected. I was okay. The jury heard it. So you already committed this. Official misconduct, all right, is doing something, right? Either not doing your job or doing your job in such a way that it's against the rules and everything, right? That you get locked up for official misconduct. Well, in the state of California, it seems like there was 17,000 cases of official misconduct. Now people got killed. What is the case law behind that, and how can the people's relatives and everything else, their next of kin, how can they sue, right, the state of California for this?
No, you could sue California anytime you want. You'd have to allege that there was a pattern in practice.
17,000 seems a pattern in practice to me.
And it was intentional, and it was done not as it wasn't done negligently
with malice.
It was done with intent and knowledge, foreknowledge, and then you'd go after them for that. And
you'd have to get a lawyer to do that, right? And you have to pay him, right?
Because there will be so many motions on that case will go on for years.
So they know they. Do you think the people, the leadership, elected leadership in California knows that for a fact?
Oh, absolutely.
And they're betting on it, right?
Correct.
So they're committing an act that they know is dangerous, right? Or should know is dangerous. They're committing this act, letting it happen, knowing damn well, knowing full well, right, that there's going to be no repercussions for that.
Their act is called reckless disregard, which is actually an element of how you could go against them, because they've acted with abandon or reckless disregard. So the mere fact that they're doing it kind of verifies their lack of concern and their culpability in it, I would say.
But it wasn't just them. It was also New York doing it, and then it was Illinois doing it, and then Wisconsin doing it, and then Colorado's doing it. right?
Correct.
But it was California and New York, I believe, were doing the CDLs. Everyone else is just doing regular driver's licenses. But once you get a driver's license from Illinois, then you go to California and you flip that, you turn in your Illinois driver's license, you get a California driver's license, and that's your first step on the way to CDL.
Right.
Because now you got, oh, look, I got residence in California and I got my driver's license. And all right, so what I'd like is get a big shout out here, get someone calling me in from the Teamsters, because I hadn't heard anything about them either. You know, you would think I have a union. My union is made up of truck drivers, right? I got a lot of truck drivers. Very important union, right? A very important time in the United States for labor. The Teamsters, fine, right? Back in the day, they had their glory, right? And they did things great for this country. I don't have anything particularly against unions in general. I have things against union leadership, right? But where is anyone saying anything about these 17,000 jobs that were taken by, because they didn't get a CDL not to work, just to have it? You know, sometimes people get certificates or they'll get licenses and they'll never use them. They just say, I have it. You know, they'll put something on their, you know, I'm PhD, right? I'm such and such. I'm not a professor, right? I'm not I don't work for any companies. I don't do consulting work or anything like that. I just went to the schools and I'm a PhD, okay? Sometimes that happens, but I don't think that happens 17,000 times. I think that they're all working. And the thing, okay, so getting back to Chicago and law enforcement here, right, is that I had a case where a taxi driver downtown got in a road rage incident and pulled a woman out of her car and started slapping her around, punching her. And his fare got out of the taxi and kicked the snot out of him and then walked away. And then the taxi driver ran off, right? And now this woman makes a case report. I get stuck with it, right? Wonderful, right? You know, so all I got is a taxi number. I don't have an ID on the driver because, oh yeah, they're supposed to have, right? They are supposed to have a chauffeur's license. Guess what? The guy that owns that taxi he doesn't even have a chauffeur's license. He never drives it. He leases it out. It's only, you know, that taxi is running 24/7. It's running all the time. He's got different drivers renting out. They pay him cash. He doesn't care if they have a driver's license. He doesn't care if they're legal or not. It's all cash business for him, right? They're like subcontractors, but they're dangerous. So now I get this guy and I says, okay, well, you know, he's kind of laughing at me. He thinks that I don't have a case because he didn't do anything. He's just laughing until I go to Chicago, the guys that control the taxis. I says, call this taxi number in for an inspection. And they do, and they call me up. Oh, it'll be here at this time. And I go out there and I'm waiting for someone to drive up in that taxi. Well, it's the guy that drives up in the taxi isn't even close to the description of my offender, right? But he's not the owner either. So we take the taxi from him. I have the taxi towed, and before I have it towed, I pry off the medallion, and I inventory the medallion. So he could get that taxi out of the lot, but he doesn't have a medallion anymore. So I inventory it, and now, he's concerned. Now he starts calling bosses and stuff, and he's complaining. And I tell the bosses, I says, absolutely not. I'm not giving that back. You give it back to him. I says, you give it back to him. He punched out a woman downtown, right? He didn't, but his fare did. And he's not giving up, his driver did, and he's not giving up the name, and no one's giving up the name. And this is the only leverage I have against him. The only leverage. So he calls me up. Now he's in tears because he still owes money on that medallion. He had to mortgage it, right? He is still paying off the money on that medallion. And he's not making any money off of it. It's like throwing money away, right? So I says, I will give you the medallion back as soon as, because he was rude to me over the phone, right? Said some choice words to me. I says, as soon as the person that punched that lady in the face turns himself in, but not only turns himself in, he has to plead guilty in court, and the court case has to be over with. As soon as the court case is over with and he has pled guilty and he's found guilty, right, then I will release the medallion back to you. And the guy was in tears. So finally, I put together the best photo array I could from people in the area where this guy had lived and everything, and, you know, doing my detective job. And I go back to the victim's place, right, to have her pick her out. And her husband meets me at the door, right? And he says, get out of here and stop harassing us. I go, what do you mean harassing you? I've got a photo array of the man that possibly, I'm pretty sure this guy was it, right? That possibly punched your wife in the face downtown. Don't you care about that? He says, just get out of here. We don't want to deal with it anymore. Guess what happened? The taxi owner, he paid him off. He absolutely paid him off. I hope it cost him a bunch of money. And I hope that guy, I hope the guy that they took a payoff for his wife getting beaten by some guy downtown, I hope that guy really feels for himself, really feels like a big man. I hope he used some of that money to take to exercise or to build up or to take some martial arts, something to feel, get some more testosterone in his body. But what happened next? What happened next? You know, I was still going to hold on to the medallion because no one had, you know, I don't make idle threats like that. I says, until this guy, I don't care. You could have no victim. It's still involved in a crime. I'm not going to clear. I'm the investigator. I'm not going to clear that case. Right? I got sent to Afghanistan. So I just gave up on it. You know? No, it wasn't because I wasn't giving the guy's medallion back, but here's the thing, right? That guy knew he had an illegal guy driving for him that wasn't licensed, that wasn't supposed to be licensed, right? And he's making money off of him. As long as he's making money off of him, he didn't care. That guy hurt someone, not with the taxi, but just being out there, he hurt someone, right? No one cared. No one cared until you're personally injured by it. And then when they're personally injured, just enough money soothes their soul. So let's take this to the extreme on this one, right? If they don't need to be legal aliens, right, to get these driver's licenses, why don't we just give them pilot's licenses? What's the difference?
Believe me, they were not exactly that atrocious, but they were really planning on doing that with pilots.
Yeah. Or how about this one? How about heavy equipment? You see those big 30-ton cranes? You know, we have to pay this guy union wages, and he's been working that machine. He's never had an accident. He's a professional. He knows it inside out. He knows what he's doing. But he's asking $100 an hour. Well, he's worth it because we do a lot of work with that and no one gets hurt. This guy here that doesn't speak English, he'll do it for 15, minimum wage, cash. No problem. The crane falls over, wipes out 60 cars. That's what we got insurance for. Or it's not our fault. He was a subcontractor. We got this contract. He subcontracted.
They'll throw their hands up and say, who would have expected that?
Who could have known? Who could have known? What are you going to do? Who could have known? We signed a subcontract. And that's what these truckers, that's why these guys are on the road. Not because they work for a company, but they're subcontracting to another company. And all the liability is written on there. You know, we'd have no liability. You're contracting to take this load from this point A to point B. And then they're leasing these trucks from a guy that says, I have no liability for this, right? You're just paying me cash for so long in the lease, right? Then they crack it up and the guy goes, the guy's out the big rig, but he goes to his insurance company, and say, oh, well, they lied to me, so you got to cover this and whatever, right? So the only people that are lost are the people that are hurt on this. And the main people that are hurt, not the big guys, it's the little guys, maybe a penny, a dime, $1 a month. You're hurt. But it's not just you, it's like 1 million people. But that's money that could go to other things, keep the economy rolling. But it's all going back to these insurance companies that have done the bean counting, figured out how much it cost them to, run these advertisements, run this, run these psychological operations. Because if you look at the AI, feel sad for these guys because they got to get their kids to school. I know a lot of people in the ghetto without cars and their kids get to school. Don't they, Paul? They get to school. They get to school miles and miles away from their home every day without fail, except Saturdays and Sundays. They don't have cars. So where has that become a point, Like there's not public transportation. When I was a kid, Paul, we had the CTA running like every half mile. There was a line every half mile. Kedzie, California, Western, and then you had 39th, 43rd, 47th. You didn't have to walk more than, a quarter mile to get anywhere because there was always a bus line there. Then all of a sudden, for some reason, the prices go up and the service goes down. Why? That's to me, why? Because people aren't paying. They're giving free rides to like everyone, and then so you got to pay, but then that's not enough to cover it. So then they gotta. It's all messed up on that. All right, and so you got. What are your thoughts on that, Paul?
I lived a block east of Cicero, and from 1973, the fall, till actually 2 years, but from 1973 to maybe 1976, okay, I would leave every morning around 5 in the morning. And I'd walk from basically Arby's over there to Bogan, and then I'd stand there, about 5:45 or so, and then the buzzer would open and the school would open up, and then you'd go in, and then you'd get ready for your first class or whatever it was, and I don't ever recall once taking the bus to school. And as far as leaving school, I took the bus maybe 3 times, okay? And a lot of times I try to take the bus, but I'd start walking. And then I'd get to where, what is it? What's the middle street over there?
Costner.
Costner. I get to Costner, and there'd still be no bus.
Yeah. And then so then the bus come by and you're like, what's the point?
Well, around Kilpatrick, but I only had a block to go, so I just walked the rest of the way, right? So maybe 3 times. And then I started driving after the summer of 76.
Let me ask you, when you started driving, all right, let me ask you this. Had you taken driver's ed?
I did, yeah.
Did you have a permit beforehand?
I did.
Did you drive around with your mom and dad for a while?
I did.
All right. Was the car licensed with a city sticker and insured?
It was.
Wow. So you did all that. Then you drove to school.
Correct. And then to be able to drive to school, you had to have a sticker, which you had to pay for, and it had to be in the back of your car. All right. And at that time, I actually pointed this out because there's a couple of model trains right now that are about $5,000 just for the engines. And I said, that's like $2,000, $3,000 more than my first car, because I got a brand new 1975 Dodge Dart Custom. In 1976 was the end of the year, thing going on, and I got it for like $2,000 something, like 2,100, and I had a sticker in the window, and I'm talking to you, it was like a 69 Dart, but it was beige, but it was a 75, and it had the vinyl roof, and it said California Custom. That's because it had an add-on defroster in the back and an add-on air conditioner in the front from the factory. But everybody thought I was cool. I mean, I was driving a Dodge Dart Custom. I mean, it was cool, and it had the slant six engine. But anyway, I took the bus 3 times in my life, and then then I drove, and it was I had a really good time in high school. I came home, I picked my mother up. We used to go shopping. I take her to all the grocery stores and things like that, and there was no problem. I had no tickets. Nobody was looking at me. I went to school. I came home. I wasn't driving on the road killing people. You know what I'm saying? It was a very peaceful and pleasant life. And it was a good thing.
So yeah. But what's the point? Why would you even pay for a car? Why would you pay for a license plate? Why would you pay for a license? Why would you pay for it? Just drive it.
Because you're being responsible. You know what I'm saying?
Responsible. Being responsible.
Yeah.
Being responsible.
That's a concept we don't understand right now.
Yeah. All right. We'll come back for the second half of Chief Guard of the Republic show. I promise I'll get into where we roll it into national defense. 847-931-1410, 505-926-1410. Hit us up in the comments on the YouTube live channel of WRMN 1410. Don't forget that we have our own YouTube channel, Chief Guard of the Republic, where you can see our shows. And we also have a webpage, cgr.scilink.net. If you just go to scilink.net, all you'll see is my books. But there'll be a link there for CGR. You could go to links there. Now scroll down. All right, flyingmonkey.com. Yeah, there you go, Flying Monkey. And then go to novels. There we go. Yeah, so I got quite a few novels out there. Yeah. And I've got another one almost ready to publish. It's the sequel to I Married a Bot Madam, which is the first one right up there. Click in there. Go. Yeah, I got the sequel coming up to this one. So it'll be pretty good. I'm enjoying it already, and I probably read it about 15 times already, doing all the proofreading and in my head. So like I said, it would be really nice. Then it just like Motor Voter, we had Motor Draft. Oh, by the way, as you get this driver's license, it's not funny, but let's have you watch this this video first, and then we show the opening scenes of what was that? Saving Private Ryan, because that was pretty brutal. I think that was one of the most brutal things I've ever seen. Yeah. Or we show you some of the scenes of Black Hawk Down. There's another one, right? And then we go, do you sure you want this Illinois driver's license? Because you're also going to be registered for the draft. And if we get that many people registered for a draft, like you're saying, Paul, there's an indoctrination going on. You have almost total state, you do have total state control. They have do you know they have billionaires in China?
Oh, I bet they do, yeah.
Why would they have a billionaire and then have a poor person? They're communist. Does someone actually need $1 billion?
The billionaires are in the Communist Party and they're pulling the strings.
Until they're not. They go through billionaires quite a bit. They throw them in prison when they're not right there, right? So,
the Chinese are really big on rehabilitating their communism.
yeah, but I bet you they don't rehabilitate their bank accounts.
Right. That's true.
So that's kind of fascism. So they got these rich, powerful people controlling all the businesses. They're making money off the businesses, but the state kind of controls them. It's a back and forth thing, right? So they have total control. They're able to indoctrinate the people because they don't got to worry if someone in their press says, "Oh, they shouldn't be using those teddy bears like that to indoctrinate the children." Suddenly, they're in what? They're in a camp, right?
Oh yeah,
re-educated. They're no longer the press. Yeah, they're like, off you go. The Japanese did that with their people. Of course, the Japanese did not have the population that China has, but they were kicking the snot out of the population that China had. All right. And yes, China was split up between warlords, and you had the communists in the north, and you had Chiang Kai-shek in the south, and so there wasn't really a united front against the Japanese, right? But they still had a lot of people, and they still couldn't hold the Japanese back, who weren't as strong as us, right, in industrial capacity. But if you go to war with us, if you don't wipe out our industrial capacity right off the bat, you're doomed. You're doomed. Because Raytheon, General Dynamics, Chrysler's known by something else now, but all these companies, all these companies will come out of the woodwork and ramp up production like you wouldn't believe. And inside of 6 months, we'll be rolling aircraft carriers out of the docks again. Whatever ship they're building, they'll just scrap whatever it was going to be and throw a landing strip on top of it. Our production capability will be nuts, all right? And that's how we defeated them, just production. The production of the smaller ships. You remember when they talked about the victory ships, and that right. there was a race to produce them, and that they
got them down to like 30 hours.
30 hours was the winner. They produced the victory ship in 30 hours. And here's the funny thing, right? I think there were 3 brothers that were running these things, and they were in competition with each other. Correct. So it wasn't just one produced in 30 hours. There was one produced in like 36 hours and another one in like 37 hours.
Right.
So within 2 days, you had 3 victory ships. Boom, in 2 days. Right. Well, the same thing was with destroyers. They were producing like 2 a month. When the Japanese said, they'd only be able to, I think it was 6 a month. They said they'd only be able to produce at the most at full capacity 2 a month. Right. And we're putting out 6 a month. So what happened was Rosie the Riveter and not Dora the Explorer. What rhymes with what rhymes welder? Wendy the Welder. So Rosie the Riveter, Wendy the Welder, all the females came into the workforce. All right. And on top of that, minorities that were banned from a lot of this, what they called skilled labor, right? Back in the day, the 40s was a little bit more, it was a little less best qualified person for the job as opposed to who you were as a person, Not going to talk about that. There are the times, but all these minorities broke into these not broke in, but not burglarized, but they were brought in out of necessity, and they started getting skilled jobs, and they started working this, and they started putting, our industrial might to work. And if we are able to take low-skilled workers, right, and throw them in the infantry, right, then our more skilled workers back home can be producing at a high rate of industry, right, until we run out of those low-skilled workers. That is what's going to deter people that know history. We don't have to go. They talk about rare earth metals, all right? Those are for certain things, right? But we could get rare earth metals from South Africa. We get rare earth metals from other places. But we haven't even scratched the surface of our natural resources because we're protective of them, because we want a nice country. We're not turning the Yellow River into mud, all right? We got the Mississippi, we got all this stuff, we got water, all right? So I think that's one of the things that's a deterrence. And yes, to increase that deterrence, on top of motor voter, we should have motor draft. What's a better word? Motor draft. Detroit draft. The Motor City. So you're getting an Illinois driver's license. You're now part of the Detroit draft. What do you think of that proposition there? Is it too off the wall? Because it's simple.
It's all good.
It's all good.
It's all good.
You give them a driver's license, you can register them to vote, you can register them for, registering for the draft is even easier. Here's my name, here's my birthday. Boop. There you go, you registered for the draft. Congratulations, get a little draft registration number. I still have my original. Because like for every federal job you have to apply for every federal thing you got to apply for, they want to know what your draft number is, or your registration number is. Draft number is a different thing. So there's a benefit there. You know, got to look at the silver lining. That's what I would put down on artificial intelligence. Why is illegal aliens having a driver's license a good thing? Well, we could register them for the draft. Oh no! You know, they're putting up in Park Ridge by my buddy's house a dispensary. This is Park Ridge, right? And it was an old VFW that apparently was totally mismanaged. But Park Ridge ended up getting it for taxes and everything. And they go, what are we going to do with this property? It was just sitting there vacant, an eyesore. And they said, oh, some guy bid to make it a dispensary. Well, you know who's going to make money off of that? You know, not the people. It's not going to benefit the people one bit. It's going to benefit a couple politically connected people that are going to make. It's just a cash. It's a cash printing machine. That's all it is. All right. If I wanted to invest in that, you know, if they wanted to do, if they had a competitive bidding process on that, I would win because I would lowball it so much, knowing that I would make up the money in the future. But my buddy's upset because, you know, he doesn't live too far away. That could have an effect on his property values. I says, well, you should have been up there protesting the dispensary and demanding that they put in a methadone clinic instead. Oh, my heart goes out for him. My heart goes out for him. I want a methadone clinic here. And then have those same people look at you and go, man, wait a second. He took it to its logical conclusion, right? Well, how? What? And you're not making money off methadone clinic, are you? But you're having compassion for the heroin addicts, aren't you?
You're helping the addicts, yes.
You're helping them. You got the compassion. You got more compassion than the people with the dispensary for people that need.
Right. The up and smoke people, yeah.
So you're basically slapping them with their own what do you call it?
You're giving them their rationale back.
Yeah,
where they can't compete with it.
They're like, what? So then you see the hypocrisy come out, right? Then you see, but that'll lower the property values and the property taxes and everything else. They don't care about that right now because the dispensary is a cash printing machine, so they don't care about that, right? But when you go to the extreme, now they're going to care a bit, and then maybe they'll walk away from the project. If you're able to say, well, why don't we do this? So if they're going to give out driver's licenses and give the motor voter, why don't we have our nice leadership that doesn't like this out there demanding that we have motor draft or the Detroit draft, right? I don't know, Detroit, what's a good D word for Illinois?
how about draft and go?
Draft and go, yeah. Draft and go. Yeah. Chicago Dogs and draft. Draft and go. Yeah, so that would be the counterpoint. And if you could say that this is just as important as voting, right? Doing your civic duty to defend the nation in the body politic, right? Then they're going to back off from that and say, well, maybe we shouldn't do that. Yeah, maybe just the citizens.
Let's think about this a little bit.
Let's think about it.
Let's discuss a little bit.
So when they do something nuts, you should find something even more nuts. I don't think it's nuts, but they can't argue. They're like up. They can't really argue with to get them off their thing. It's like, okay. It's like here's a secret to raising kids, right? Kids ask for stuff. They ask for some expensive stuff, some stuff isn't good for them, right? Some stuff you don't agree with. So rather than just say, maybe, we'll see, which is a flat out no, but it's kind of a it's kind of like a chicken no, right? It's kind of like a cowardly way to say no, because you don't want them crying and blustering and screaming at you. You just get tired of that. It's just old after a while, right? So when they ask you for something that you don't agree with, you say, okay, but first you have to. My daughter wanted to move in with her friends that were going to school and share an apartment with them, but they needed someone to co-sign for the lease. And I'm like, their parents aren't co-signing for this lease. One of them was kind of like, he was like not in with his parents anymore. The other one, he was good with his parents and everything, but they didn't want him living there either, right? But my daughter goes there. I says, sure, I want you to show me the first and the last month's rent and the security deposit in cash. In cash. Then I will co-sign for the lease. So I gave him something that I knew wasn't going to happen. They weren't going to put that much cash together. Right? So that was going to happen. I didn't say no. I just gave them something, a parameter, something that would be very difficult to show that they were dead interested in it and they were going to have skin in that game. Skin in the game. None of these politicians have skin in the game. So when they want to do something, someone else has got to come up and make sure they have skin in that game. Right? You want to do this? We're good with it. We're good with it as long as you do this for us. And that's what like the shutdown was. They're like, we're going to cut this out. And they said, well, we're not going to vote for it then if you cut that out. I'm like, okay. And they just held off, right? Until finally it went through, right? What's going to happen? I'm not saying now, some of those senators actually have skin in the game because they held tight, right? They said, hey, we own this now. But the trouble with the illegal aliens having the privileges of driving and having everything else out here is they have zero skin in the game. They're not paying. They may be indirectly paying property taxes. They may be renting off of a landlord, right, and paying property taxes. They might be indirectly paying not income taxes, but Social Security taxes by working under someone else's Social Security number, right? But they have not registered for the draft. They have no skin in protecting this country, knowing full well that unless we're out there press ganging them during time of war, that no one's going to send them a letter saying it's time for you to do your what did the Chinese say? To do their duty as a Chinese officer, right? It's time for you to do your duty as a resident, an undocumented resident. I'm not saying citizen, but as a resident of the United States, for the privilege of living here, we want you to go and dodge SKS bullets. What is it? 7.62 times 39, right?
Correct.
Yeah, we want you to go dodge those for a while. If you make it through that and everything's okay, you can come back here, but you still got to apply for citizenship. But we'll put you to the front of the line. It's like when the guy, and the thing that doesn't come out, right? And I feel for the guy. He was in the Marines, right? He did his term in the Marines, but he wasn't a citizen. He wasn't a U.S. citizen. You don't have to be a U.S. citizen to join the military. Don't have to be. You only have to have a green card. So he was a permanent resident alien. So he was not a citizen yet. He did his time in the Marines, and then he got locked up for felony dope charges. And they revoked his permanent resident alien card and deported him. And people were saying, oh, he's a U.S. veteran, and you deported him. That doesn't give you any special, being a veteran really doesn't give you any special rights if you don't earn them and you don't protect those rights. By committing a felony of dealing drugs, you fail to protect the rights that you had earned. Had he not committed that felony, he would still be a veteran and still be in line to apply for citizenship, but he never did. Whose fault is that?
His.
Absolutely. Now, had he become a citizen and then got convicted of the felony, now you could say they're deporting a U.S. citizen. But he wasn't. He was a resident alien. So when you see him pull that one out, say, yeah, we should let that, what about all the child murderers and everything? If you were a resident alien and you're serving in the service, that gives you carte blanche to commit any felony you want and not be deported. No. Doesn't make sense. So, it's like the little snowball that starts rolling downhill and becoming a bigger snowball, right? As the privileges increase, right? They want more and more privileges. It gets bigger, more and more entitlement, right? Less reason to leave, because when you leave, unless you got direct deposit and no one knows you left, and you got SSI disability through whatever scam went through, all right? And that check keeps coming into your bank account and you're cashing the checks overseas and you're not here anymore, right? Then you leave. But if all of your privileges and perks and benefits are going to stop if you leave, there's no reason for you to leave. But if you stop all those perks and privileges, then there's no reason for you to stay, because it becomes more difficult for you if you don't speak the language, if no one will hire you for a job, if no one will rent an apartment to you, a place for you to stay. And I feel for that. That's terrible. No one will rent an apartment for you because it's against the law. That's why. I don't have to commit a crime because you want to be here. Again, what did you ever do for me? That's where the self-serving, I got to look, introspect. I'm going, like, what did they ever do for me? What are they going to do for me? The only thing I could think of is that they're going to take the place of more capable actual U.S. citizens paying taxes in here, registered and everything that we know of. They're going to take their places overseas on the front line, catching 7.62 millimeter rounds. If that's even going to happen. The war is never good. I don't wish war on anyone. It's a losing proposition on all the sides, except for the military-industrial complex. It seems to always do well. Even Eisenhower didn't like those guys. He was a general. He was a 4-star, and he says, look out for these guys, man. They're bad news. I think he was right. My current novel, I'm going to use a few minutes here to speak about my current novel, is the sequel to I Married a Bot Madam. And one of the things in it is it's got a big corporation there, and murder and all sorts of stuff evolve. Murder and revenge, right, come out because of a capability that the defense industry would really like to have. It would be great. And right now it's